What's up guys, Jesse here, aka Rextech, and today I'm going to show you how to make this sound. If you like that sound, you like what I'm doing here, go ahead, like and subscribe, and let's get on to the video. Today we are going to, I'm going to go over like how I make my basses, make my sounds. How I do it is kind of layered. So when it's the same sound but different frequencies almost, I guess would be the way to put it. I'm not very technical on it. A lot of people probably do it like this. It's probably nothing new, probably nothing you guys haven't seen before. But I'm gonna go through my process of how I make a sound, how I go about it with post-processing, my ideas behind it, and everything else. So what I'm first gonna do is grab Serum. Boom. And so then what I like to look for is a very specific type of wavetable. So I have all these a lot of these from Rocket Power Sounds. Spectral's a good one, like Monster 6 a really good one. I always go to C0. See, it's kind of just like a muddy growl. So I like to have that movement. So when I'm making my growls, I like to have the first sound to have a lot of movement with it. And so it's this one right here. Has a lot of movement with it. A lot of times I'll do this. I'll do FM from B. And from here, I don't want a whole lot of movement off of this one. So a lot of times I'll use like FFT at seconds. So it doesn't have a whole lot of movement. And then of course, like most people, FM from B. And then from here, it's like I have to go about. And then from there, I can do something like this. I like to do so a lot of times to give it that second style or that different sounding style of whomping or growling. I like to do this. So obviously it sounds like shit right now. Then we can add to this. I can even take away the movement. And then add this to the LFO 1 to level. So I have wavetable position at 0, at 1. And then I modulated it to 67, 66. And then you can, if you want to, but this kind of sounds good like this. And then I have my FM from B to 29% with Monster 6 and FTT. And then from here, I like to grab a multi, high notch 12. So it kind of takes away a lot of that low. What a notch does is it brings up that high, low filters that high, then it notches a certain frequency, negative notching that certain frequencies. You can also achieve this with EQ, and I can show you that a little bit later. I like to find that one frequency that sounds good to me with a good resonance, about 46%. Cut off at 126 for the low, and then filter variance about 75%. And then from here, you don't want to go too far because then you start losing mids and highs. This is a filter that takes out your lows. And so if it goes past anything, starts taking away everything. High notch filter, so it's a high pass filter. I'm sorry. What I like to do is I like to make them get closer, so I'm adding that voweling sound. So they're not really crossing as much. They're kind of just sitting here. They're kind of like just meeting together, especially on that first one. They're kind of crossing, but that second one, they're kind of just meeting up at the same time. You can see I already got the growling effect going. Sometimes I can also do this. Now I got that deep growl. And from here, hyperdimension, I take the rate down to 0. Size, I'm going to bring to 2%. Mix, 67%. Add some filter variance and some expanding the sound, I like to call it. Distortion, I most always use a stomp box. You can even, if you want to pull a drive back a little bit, you can use like a linear fold. That's another way. That's another one I like to do. And then from there, there's a few different ways I do it. So if I'm trying to make a really deep growl sound like this, I won't use phaser, chorus, or delay. Sometimes I will. If I'm trying to keep it a little bit more of a mid-sounding sound, sometimes I'll usually just go straight to the compressor, multi-band it as always. And what I like to bring the ratio 1:1, and then bring the gain up a little bit. See, it's starting to get a little bit louder. And then from here, if I want to, I could add like a phaser. This is what it would sound like with that phaser. Kind of gives that effect of like going through a guitar amp. All I do is bring everything pretty much to 0, leave the mix about 100%. You can even pull that back if you wanted to, about 75. Doesn't make much of a difference though. And then if I really want to emphasize the growling, like I was telling you, you can achieve that same high notch filter with the equalizer. If I really want to focus that growl a little bit more, I'll just make a high notch filter. So you're going to take this filter here, this one here. You're going to bring the gain to negative 24 dB. Move your frequency where you like it. And then this frequency where you like it. So that one's at 93. And then doing the exact same thing pretty much. The only difference here is you can individually adjust this sound and this sound, like how wide it's going to be, how tight it's going to be. And then how you can adjust how much resonance is moving. You can even, like sometimes I'll even do add a little bit more of that yoing sound. And then that's kind of it for that one. And then what I'll do is just copy, paste that same sound. And then what I'll do is I'll change a couple things. So I'll take like the FTT away and add something like Dual Toy. And then I'll take off that equalizer. And then don't need that one as wide. And then we can bring the global down, the width down to 0 also. And then from there you can make like a simple, let's do like a 4-bar loop. And I usually do this at about 140, 150 BPM. And then so it's doing that. And if you notice, there's some low end. And what I like to do is I like to take away the low ends from these two sounds. So I like to make the sub actually fill that low end area. So I'll take like an EQ8 here, and I'll just take away the low end. So I'll bring it back to about 100-ish area. So usually around here, it's about 95 to 100 hertz. Copy that. Sometimes I would take this spot away, that little movement right there. But since we've made that yoing on purpose, I feel like this would be better at 140. We're at 140 BPM. I feel like this sounds a lot better at 140 BPM. And then from there, so there's a little bit of resonance. Right there. Don't know why it's doing that. But either way, so then what I like to do, sidechain. And then I'll add my drums, see what it sounds like with drums. Drop kicks. If you guys want to know this template, I can always put this template on a folder and sell it or give it out for free. Who knows? We'll see where this goes. So go to my user library, a bunch of stuff from my old computer too. I like the phase 1 kick that I found a lot. It's just, for me, it's really nice. And I like to kick snare it a lot, so I'll just do PMRDW2 Snare Heaven. Which sounds like that. And then how I make mine is just yeet. And that's just a simple drum loop. I feel like we're losing width somewhere. I feel like it's in this sound. Yeah, it's in that sound. So let's bring the random down to 0. It kind of sounds like that last section. That part that, sounds like the laughing track from Sudden Death. And let's bring the random down on this one too. We're not using any of the unison, so the random doesn't do much, but I feel like it does a lot when you have that issue where we're having. And then from here, we got a sub that I can make. So a lot of times I like to start off by itself, and I have a sub preset made, but I'll just show you how I make mine. So we got this, we got basic shapes, sine wave. Probably can't hear it that much. But then basic shapes again, I like to use 2 oscillators. Kind of gives it that gritty sound. And then from here, just do a little low pass. So a lot of people don't tell you, and I learned this from the car business, from working in vehicles, your sub-level range, just strictly sub-level range, is 30 hertz to 80 hertz. So usually here, I'll just bring this back to 80. And then, so now I have 2 oscillators going to a low filter, about at 80 hertz. A little bit of distortion, just for the shits and gigs. And then obviously a compressor, multiband. Also ratioed 1:1. Actually, I want a compressor above the distortion. Just trying to get a little bit of volume out of this so it's about even. So it's not just going to be hidden behind this sound. Then take the sub, do the same thing. I like to do it to F though. So simple like that. You can even take this and make the exact same LFO shape and just boop, bink. So then you have it going with every note. So that's with the sub, this is without it. So it adds in what I take away from the front sound, I'm adding in, so then I can have a full range of listening. So then I can even OTT this. I should probably put that on trigger. Probably bring this back. Sorry, this is not very pleasing to the ears. So now it kind of matches what's going on with upstairs. So this matches what's going on upstairs, so it doesn't feel disconnected as much. That comes down to knowing how to mix. And then from there, a lot of times if I feel like the sound's dull, which I kind of feel like the sound is dull, I will take a camel crusher, add a lot more distortion, because who doesn't love distortion? And then just do boom, 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 boom. And this does matter. by the way, if people who are new don't know, the orientation of this does matter sometimes. Because if I do that, then now this isn't being filtered. Now it is. Same with this down here. The orientation would matter if I had more than just this down here, which sometimes I do. Sometimes if I don't like that distortion sound, I'll a lot of times just take away the distortion. And then again, like I said, sub level in and of itself is 30 to 80 hertz. So when you automatically low shelf this, 30 hertz. So then what I do here, I go to this, 80. Now we're in that sub level. So kind of go over it again. Got Monster 6, and it's being FN from B at 29% from Dull Toy, making a high notch with a high notch 12 at 122 hertz with a 23% cutoff. Frequencies at 68% hertz with a negative 29% cutoff. I have a asymmetrical plus minus with a negative 68 warp. Hyperdimension, rates at 0, detune stays, mix at 50, size at 2%, mix at 47%. Lid fold distortion, which we can also, like I said, sometimes use stomp box. 14% drive, 100% dry wet. Phaser, everything at 0, mix at 100. Compressor, threshold, 18.1, ratio 1:1. Pretty much leave everything the same except move your ratio to 1:1. Gain 7.7 dB, and that's for this sound. With a camel crusher on it. For this sound, we have a little bit different. Monster 6 going in at FFT adds seconds, and we have our wavetable at 1 being modulated to 68%, level 0 being modulated 100%. Cutoff, 73 hertz, being modulated to 23%. Frequency, 72. Negative 27% modulation. Hyperdimension, same thing. Lid fold distortion at 14% drive. Phaser, the same thing. Compressor, the same thing. And then we have the equalizer to emphasize that yoing sound and kind of give that watery, wet sound behind it. That yoing sound behind it. 93 hertz modulated to 25%. You have our EQQ low at 58%. Modulated 9 up. Frequency for your notch, which you just click the notch shelf, negative 24 dB it. 3500 hertz being modulated back to negative 28%. Q 64%. So then you get this sound together. And then you can do funny stuff like you can leave 1 the way it is, and you can do like so you can do a lot of times just like boom, boom. And so you can you have ways to add different things to it. So if you're just making one sound, can't really do a lot to it. If it was just this right here, and that was it, then you couldn't really add a whole lot to it. Whereas this, now I can have something faster behind it. Or I can even adjust this LFO. And then I can make like a boom, boom, boom. 4 into an 8, basically, but it's half to a fourth. But then you don't get a whole lot of movement if you're doing just one sound. And again, I'm probably not the first, definitely not gonna be the last person to probably think this up, of layering basses. I just think I don't see a whole lot of people, at least the people that I've shown how I do it, they're just completely mind blown by how I do it, or how I think of ways to make sound. And so I pretty much take away all low from here and use the sub to fill it in, which a whole lot of people don't do. And I've noticed that where sometimes you, like, especially young artists, you'll hear their low ends from their main sound and their sub kind of resonate together, which can be a problem because it can kind of take away from what you're listening to. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in a different video. Have a good one.